Strength can move mountains, but strength can't brush away tartar. For tartar, use your head instead, and get Colgate Tartar Control. You see, while helping to brush away plaque, Colgate's been proven to help stop tartar from building up. So you don't need strength to fight tartar. You just need smarts to buy Colgate.
You seem to be twice as vicious as you were before. Every bit as twice.
You are speaking 100% right, and not only 100% right, I put in another 100% more viciousness. This Indian ever come inside the ring, bring a chair or any foreign object inside the ring, I'm going to take this chair and I am going to break and strangle this man with this chair or any foreign objects inside the ring. I'm going to get rid of this man once and for all because I don't tolerate it no more violence, and I show this man what violence is.
When audiences watched action movies and television shows throughout the 1970s and 1980s, there was one face that almost instantly signaled trouble. Standing with a powerful build and an expression that seemed permanently locked into a glare, Professor Toru Tanaka became one of Hollywood's most reliable villains. But long before Hollywood discovered him, Tanaka had already established himself as one of professional wrestling's most successful heels. During wrestling's territorial era, when fans often believed what they saw in the ring was real, Tanaka perfected the role of the hated foreign menace. What made Tanaka unique was his ability to thrive in two industries built around larger-than-life personalities. As a result, he built an impressive Hollywood resume that included appearances in films and television shows, alongside some of the biggest stars of his era. To movie fans, he was a memorable character actor. To wrestling fans, he was one of the most effective heels of his generation. Long before he became one of wrestling's most feared villains or Hollywood's favorite henchmen, Professor Toru Tanaka was simply Charles Kalani, a young athlete growing up in Honolulu, Hawaii. Born on January 6, 1930, he developed a passion for athletics at an early age. At just 9 years old, Kalani began studying judo and jiu-jitsu, eventually earning a Danzanryu black belt. The discipline, physical conditioning, and mental toughness he gained through martial arts would become defining characteristics throughout his life and career. While attending Iolani High School, he excelled in multiple sports and later credited football with keeping him focused and out of trouble during his youth. Playing both tackle and place kicker, he developed the toughness and competitive drive that would later serve him well. After graduating from Iolani in 1949, Kalani continued his education at Weber Junior College in Ogden, Utah, where another important chapter of his life began. It was there that he met Doris, the woman who would become his wife and remain by his side for the next 50 years. Drafted into the United States Army in 1955, he would spend more than a decade in uniform, eventually attaining the rank of sergeant before his discharge in 1966. During those years, he and Doris spent 4 years stationed in Nuremberg, Germany. One of his German friends began taking judo lessons from him, and before long, Kalani was conducting demonstrations at the gym on the military base. It was through this connection that he first learned about professional wrestling. He began attending wrestling events in Nuremberg, where competitors from across Europe gathered to perform before enthusiastic crowds. What seemed like a simple night out would prove to be the beginning of a remarkable journey. In Germany, Charles Kalani received his first exposure to the strange and colorful world of professional wrestling, a world that would eventually transform him into the legendary Professor Toru Tanaka. When Charles Kalani left the Army in 1966, he opened a judo academy in California and began teaching martial arts, drawing upon the skills he had spent decades developing. Before long, Kalani caught the attention of San Francisco wrestling promoter Roy Shire, one of the most influential figures on the West Coast wrestling scene. To succeed in professional wrestling during the late 1960s, he needed an identity that audiences would instantly react to. Promoters believed that portraying him as Hawaiian would not generate the same level of attention as presenting him as a foreign menace from Japan. With that decision, Charles Kalani disappeared, and Professor Toru Tanaka was born. Tanaka debuted in 1967 and quickly embraced every aspect of the character. Portrayed as a ruthless Japanese martial arts expert, he became the kind of villain fans love to hate. Before matches, Tanaka would perform an elaborate ritual in which he ceremonially blessed each corner of the ring with salt. The display appeared respectful and traditional, but it often ended with him throwing the salt directly into his opponent's eyes when the referee wasn't looking. The tactic became one of his trademark acts, infuriating audiences and perfectly establishing him as a devious rule breaker. Unlike many wrestling villains of the era, Tanaka's menace felt believable because it was grounded in reality. He possessed genuine martial arts expertise and the physical toughness that came from years of military service and athletic competition. Inside the ring, he combined brute strength with judo techniques and striking ability. The gimmick transformation was almost immediate. What had begun as a marketing decision soon evolved into one of the most effective villain characters in professional wrestling. Audiences booed him relentlessly, promoters booked him as a top attraction, and Tanaka discovered that he possessed a natural talent for playing the antagonist. As Professor Toru Tanaka's reputation grew throughout the wrestling world, he would become most closely associated with another villain from Hawaii who was portraying a Japanese character, Mr. Fuji. Known in real life as Harry Fujiwara, Fuji had attended high school in Hawaii and shared a similar background with Tanaka. Together, they formed one of professional wrestling's most notorious tag teams, terrorizing opponents and drawing the ire of fans wherever they appeared. On the surface, the pairing seemed perfect. Both men portrayed cunning Japanese heels who relied on underhanded tactics, psychological warfare, and an uncanny ability to infuriate audiences. Promoters recognized the potential immediately, and the duo quickly became a valuable attraction in territories across the country. Yet behind the scenes, their relationship was far more complicated than wrestling fans realized. According to legendary wrestler and manager Freddie Blassie, the partnership was based more on practicality than friendship. In his autobiography, Blassie explained that from Tanaka's perspective, teaming with Fuji simply made sense from a business standpoint. The two men were among wrestling's most recognizable Japanese villains, and pairing them together increased their value as a team. However, despite their success, there was little personal admiration between them. The differences in their personalities were significant. Tanaka approached wrestling as a profession. He was disciplined, organized, and methodical, treating each match as part of a larger business. His goal was straightforward: perform his job well, earn a living, and provide for his family. Blassie described him as a consummate professional who wanted to wrestle his match, shake hands afterward, and move on to the next town. Fuji, on the other hand, was considerably less predictable. While he was undeniably talented and highly entertaining, he had a reputation for being difficult to control. As a result, Tanaka often found himself carrying additional responsibilities whenever they teamed together. Not only did he have to help guide the match and coordinate with their opponents, but he also had to ensure that Fuji didn't stray too far from the plan. The arrangement worked remarkably well. Tanaka's steady leadership and veteran instincts provided the perfect balance to Fuji's unpredictability, allowing the duo to become one of the most successful heel teams of their era. Their chemistry in the ring helped them capture championships and headline cards throughout multiple territories, cementing their place among wrestling's most memorable villainous tandems. While Professor Toru Tanaka is most often remembered as one half of one of professional wrestling's most notorious tag teams, his career also included a significant and highly respected run as a singles competitor. In the late 1960s, Tanaka entered the Worldwide Wrestling Federation and quickly established himself as a serious threat in the heavyweight division. His impact was immediate enough that he rose to become the #1 contender to the WWWF World Heavyweight Championship held by the legendary Bruno Sammartino. Sammartino himself reportedly played a key role in bringing Tanaka into the promotion, recommending him to promoter Vince McMahon Sr. while Tanaka was performing in Australia. That endorsement alone spoke volumes about the respect Tanaka commanded among his peers. In an era defined by territorial wrestling and tightly protected main event stars, being positioned as a top challenger to Sammartino was one of the highest honors a wrestler could receive. Although he had moments of success as a singles performer, Tanaka ultimately became best known for his dominance in tag team competition. Teaming with Mr. Fuji, Tanaka captured the WWWF World Tag Team Championships 3 times, solidifying their place as one of the most successful heel teams in the company's history. Their first 2 title reigns came under the management of the Grand Wizard, while their third reign was guided by Freddie Blassie, further elevating their status within the promotion's villain hierarchy. Each combination brought a different layer of chaos and charisma, but Tanaka remained the consistent anchor of the team, the one responsible for structure, timing, and in-ring leadership. Following his run in the WWF, Tanaka continued to travel the world, competing in Japan, Hawaii, and various wrestling territories that still valued his intimidating presence and veteran experience. Even as the wrestling landscape began to shift toward national promotions and televised supercards, Tanaka remained a sought-after performer whose name still carried weight with promoters and audiences alike. By the early 1980s, Charles Kalani's body was beginning to reflect the toll of nearly 2 decades inside professional wrestling rings around the world. The constant punishment, travel, and physical strain that came with being a top-level heel had worn him down. Rather than fade quietly from the spotlight, however, Kalani transitioned into a new arena where his intimidating presence remained his greatest asset, the world of film and television. His first major film role came in 1981 with An Eye for an Eye, a Chuck Norris action vehicle that would set the tone for much of his on-screen career. In his films, he carried himself with a physical dominance that made him appear less like an actor and more like a natural force of intimidation. Directors frequently used him as a visual threat, an imposing figure meant to tower over heroes and signal danger the moment he entered a scene. As with his wrestling career, Kalani was often typecast as a villain, typically portraying Japanese thugs, enforcers, or silent intimidators. This typecasting followed him across a wide range of productions and some of the biggest action stars of the era. He appeared opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in projects such as The Running Man and Last Action Hero, and even faced off against Chuck Norris again in Missing in Action 2. In a surprising bit of range, he even stepped into comedy, appearing as a butler in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, showcasing that his screen presence could be effective even outside of action and violence. Television also provided steady work throughout this period. Kalani made guest appearances on popular series like The A-Team, where his imposing figure and controlled intensity made him an ideal choice for episodic antagonists. Across both wrestling and Hollywood, a consistent theme defined Kalani's career: the transformation of a mild-mannered, disciplined professional into one of entertainment's most convincing bad guys. The same man described by those close to him as polite, professional, and deeply respectful in real life became, on screen and in the ring, a figure audiences loved to hate. It was a performance that required restraint as much as aggression, and Kalani mastered both. By the time he reached his final film role in 1995's Hard Justice, starring David Bradley and Charles Napier, his transition from wrestler to character actor was complete. As with his time in the ring, he exited the film world having carved out a distinct and memorable niche, not as the hero, but as the dependable, intimidating presence who made every story's conflict feel real. In the end, behind the rage of Professor Toru Tanaka and the cold, intimidating presence seen on screen and in the wrestling ring, there remained a very different man, one known only to those closest to him. To the public, He was a villain, a ruthless enforcer who threw salt in his opponent's eyes and stood across from some of the biggest stars in wrestling and Hollywood. But to his family, he was something far more ordinary and far more human. Kalani passed away from heart failure on August 22, 2000. In accordance with his wishes, his ashes were scattered in the waters near Haleiwa, Hawaii, returning him to the islands where his journey began. Though the lights have long gone out on his matches, and his film roles have faded into the background of action cinema history, Professor Toru Tanaka's legacy endures. He remains one of wrestling's most effective villains, and one of Hollywood's most recognizable enforcers, a performer who mastered the art of being hated while living a life that, away from the spotlight, was defined by something far more quiet and human.